The observation deck was empty at this hour. Nari liked it that way. She had waited until the night shift began. When most workers on Station High and 7 were either sleeping or too busy to notice a young Valori, or climbing over the safety railing, the station orbited a dying star. Everything here was bathed in a dim orange light that made shadows look longer and sadder than they should be. Nari thought it was fitting. A dying star for a dying hope. She stood now on the narrow metal ledge beyond the railing. In front of her was nothing but a thin emergency shield and then endless space. The void. Her people called it the final sky. They believed that those who died among the stars would fly forever. Their souls carried by solar winds to places no living being could reach. Nar spread her fingers against the cold metal wall beside her. Her wings folded tight against her back, trembled slightly. They were pale blue, almost white, and translucent like thin ice. Beautiful wings. Useless wings. She had not flown in 3 years. Not since she came to this station as a refugee with nothing but the clothes on her body and a small bag of memories. Her people, the Valori, had once lived on a world of floating mountains and endless skies. They built cities in the clouds. Children learned to fly before they learned to walk. Flight was not just movement for the Valori. It was identity. It was freedom. It was life itself. Then their sun exploded. Nari was only 6 years old when it happened. She remembered very little. Just the screaming, the ships. Her mother's arms wrapped tight around her as they escaped into the black. Her mother did not survive the first year in the refugee camps. Her father had died on their homeworld trying to save others. Now Nari was alone. 19 years old by human counting, still a child by Valori standards, and completely, totally alone. She pulled out the crumpled paper from her pocket. It was her asylum petition response. The third one. The words were formal and cold. Application denied. Insufficient grounds. Applicant is advised to report to Refugee Processing Center 12 for deportation. Deportation. Back to the camps. Back to the gray buildings where Valori were packed together like cargo, where they clipped your wings for safety reasons, where young ones grew up never knowing what it felt like to fly, where her people slowly forgot who they were and simply waited to die. We would not go back there. She refused. She looked at the emergency shield release button on the wall. It was red and covered with a plastic case to prevent accidents. But accidents were not what Nari wanted. She wanted a choice. Her choice. The only choice she had left. Among her people, this was understood. The Valori believed deeply in personal freedom, especially the freedom of one's final moment. If someone chose to return to the stars, others would not stop them. It was considered disrespectful to interfere. The soul knew what it needed. The soul would find its way. Nari had walked past several aliens on her way here. A Torvian merchant closing his shop. 2 Krix engineers checking a broken light panel. A Manak family heading to their quarters. They had all looked at her. They had all seen something in her eyes. And they had all looked away. They understood. They respected her choice. That was the way of things in the galaxy. Personal autonomy above all. Do not interfere in the sacred decisions of others. Nari lifted the plastic cover from the release button. Her hand was steady. She was not afraid. The Valori did not fear death. They only feared a life without sky. She thought about her mother, about her father, about the floating cities she would never see again. Maybe she would find them out there in the final sky. Maybe they were waiting for her. Her finger touched the button. That's a long way down. The voice came from behind her. It was calm, unhurried, speaking in accented galactic common. With the rough sounds that marked it as human air, I did not turn around. Go away, she said. Can't do that. Said go away. This is not your concern. She heard footsteps. Heavy boots on metal. Then she felt a presence beside her, on the other side of the railing. She finally turned her head. The human was old. Maybe 48 or 50 by their years. His hair was gray at the sides and his face was lined with the kind of wrinkles that came from too much worry and too little sleep. He wore the simple jumpsuit of a cargo ship captain. His eyes were dark and tired, but there was something in them that Nari could not name. "My name is Kong Tae," he said. "What's yours?" "It does not matter. It matters to me." Nari turned back to the void. "You should leave. Among my people, it is rude to interfere with someone's final choice. I'm not one of your people. Then you do not understand. Maybe not." Kong Tae leaned against the railing. He did not try to grab her. He did not shout or panic. He simply stood there, looking out at the same stars she was looking at. "But I understand that you're young. And I understand that whatever is hurting you right now feels like it will hurt forever. And I understand that it won't." Nari felt anger rise in her chest. "You know nothing about me? Nothing about my pain? My world is gone. My family is dead. I have no home. No future. No hope. In 3 days, they will send me to a place worse than death. So do not tell me what I feel." Kong Tae was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You're right. I don't know your pain, but I know pain." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small photograph. It was worn at the edges. The colors faded. He held it up so Nari could see. It showed a woman with kind eyes and a little girl with messy hair, both laughing at something outside the frame. "My wife," Kong Tae said. "She died when my daughter was 8. Sickness. The kind that medicine couldn't fix. I watched her fade away over 6 months. And when she was gone, I stood on an edge too. Not a real one like this, but close enough." Nari looked at the photograph, then at the human. His face was calm, but his eyes held old wounds. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I stayed," Kong Tae said. "Not because the pain went away. It didn't, not for a long time. But I stayed because I realized something. Pain is not the whole story. It's just one chapter. A hard one, but not the last one." He put the photograph away. Then, slowly, he reached out his hand. "Come back over the railing. Just for tonight. Have a meal with me. Rest. And tomorrow, if you still want to make this choice, I won't stop you. But give yourself one more night. One more meal. One more chance for the story to change." Nari stared at his hand. It was rough and scarred. A working hand. A hand that had built things and fixed things and held things together when they were falling apart. Among her people. No one would offer such a hand. They would respect her too much to try. But this human did not respect her choice. He challenged it. He stood in front of it like a wall and said, "Not today." "Nar, I did not know why." But she found herself reaching back. Their fingers touched. His grip was warm and firm. And for the first time in 3 years, Nari felt something she had forgotten existed. She felt held. Kong Tae helped Nari climb back over the railing. She moved slowly, like someone waking from a deep sleep. Her legs felt weak. Her wings trembled against her back. She had been so ready to let go, so certain. And now she was standing on solid metal again, breathing recycled station air. Alive. She did not know how to feel about that. "This way," Kong Tae said. He did not touch her again. He simply walked, trusting her to follow. Nari followed. She was not sure why. Maybe because she was tired. Maybe because she had nowhere else to go. Maybe because this strange human had looked at her, like she was a person and not a problem. They walked through the station's lower corridors. These were the working areas, far from the bright shops and restaurants of the upper levels. Here the walls were bare metal. The lights flickered sometimes. The air smelled like engine grease and recycled water. Nar. I had lived in these corridors for 2 years. She worked as a dock laborer, loading and unloading cargo from ships. It was hard work. The pay was small, but it was honest, and it let her stay on the station while her asylum petitions moved through the system. 3 petitions. 3 denials. 2 years of hoping. All for nothing. She pushed the thought away. She had agreed to one more night. She would not think about tomorrow until tomorrow came. Kong Tae stopped in front of a docking bay. The sign above it read Bay 47. Inside, connected to the station by a heavy airlock, was a cargo ship. It was old but well-maintained. The kind of ship that had seen many years of service and would see many more. "This is my ship," Kangtae said. "The Hannah. It means flower in my language. My wife named it." He entered a code on the airlock panel. The door hissed open. The inside of the ship was small, but clean. The main corridor led to a cargo hold in the back and a living area in the front. Kangtae led Nari to the living area. It had a tiny kitchen, a table with 4 chairs, and a couch that looked old but comfortable. The walls were covered with photographs, children's drawings, and small decorations from different worlds. It looked like a home, a real home. Nari had not seen one in a very long time, Kangtae said. "I'll make food." Nari sat at the table. She watched as Kangtae moved around the small kitchen. He pulled out a pot, filled it with water, and set it on the heating plate. He opened containers of rice and vegetables. His movements were practiced and calm. "You cook?" Nari asked. It came out before she could stop it. Kangtae smiled slightly. "Someone has to. My daughter burns water." "You have a daughter? Sue? She's 22? Works as communications officer on this ship? She's sleeping now. Long shift today." Nari looked at the photographs on the wall. Many of them showed a young human woman with short black hair and bright eyes. In some pictures, she was a child. In others, a teenager. In the most recent ones, she looked about Nara's age. "She grew up on this ship?" Nari asked. "Mostly. After her mother died, I couldn't stay on Earth. Too many memories. So I took her with me. We've been moving ever since. Station to station. World to world. That sounds lonely." Kangtae shrugged. "Sometimes. But we had each other. That was enough." The water began to boil. Kangtae added rice and lowered the heat. Then he started cutting vegetables with quick, efficient strokes. "Tell me about your people," he said. "The Valori. I've heard stories, but I'd like to hear from you." Nari was quiet for a moment. She was not used to people asking about her kind. Most species in the galaxy saw the Valori as refugees. Problems, sad stories best left unspoken. "We lived on a world called Velor," she finally said. "It was beautiful. The mountains floated in the sky, held up by magnetic fields from our planet's core. We built our cities on those mountains. We flew between them like birds. Flew." Nari extended her wings slightly. In the small room, they could not open fully. But Kangtae could see their shape. Delicate, translucent, like pieces of captured sky. "All Valori can fly," Nari said. "Or we could. Before your son died." "Yes." Nari folded her wings back. "Our son was old. We knew it would die eventually, but we thought we had more time. We were wrong. When it exploded, we had only hours to evacuate. Most of us did not make it. Those who did," she stopped, swallowed. "Those who did have been refugees ever since." "The camps," Kangtae said. It was not a question. The camps. 17 of them spread across the galaxy. Overcrowded, underfunded, they call them temporary housing. But some Valori have lived there for 15 years. They clip our wings when we arrive. They say it is for safety, for space management. But really, it is because they do not want us to fly away. Kangtae's hand stopped moving. He looked at Nari. "They clip your wings?" "Not cut clip. They put heavy bands on them that make flight impossible. Many young Valori have never flown at all. They do not know what they are missing." Nari touched her own wings gently. "I still remember. That is why I cannot go back. To know what flight feels like, and then to have it taken away forever. That is worse than death." Kangtae was silent. He finished cutting vegetables and added them to another pot. The smell of cooking food filled the small kitchen. "Among my people," he finally said, "we have a saying. Where there is life, there is hope." Nari shook her head. "That is a human saying. Humans always have hope, even when it makes no sense. Even when everything is lost, you hope anyway. We Valori are not like that. We accept what is. We do not fight against truth. Maybe that's your problem." Nari looked up. What? Kongtae turned to face her. You accept too easily. You see a wall, and you think it is the end. Humans see a wall and we think, how do I get over this? Or under it? Or through it? We don't accept. We fight. Even when it makes no sense. Especially when it makes no sense. That sounds exhausting. 'Tis. Kongtae smiled. But it keeps us alive. He served the food. Rice and vegetables and a simple sauce. Nothing fancy. But it was hot, and it was good, and it was made with care. Nari ate slowly. The warmth spread through her body. She had not realized how hungry she was. Cold. How empty. Thank you, she said quietly. Kongtae nodded. You can sleep on the couch tonight. Tomorrow, we'll figure out the next step. There is no next step. In 3 days, they will deport me. Then we have 3 days to find one. Artie stared at him. Why? Why do you care? You do not know me. I am not your kind. I am not your responsibility. Kongtae was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that Nari would remember for the rest of her life. Ash. On that observation deck, every being who saw you walked away. They respected your choice. They gave you privacy. They did the polite thing, the proper thing, the thing their cultures taught them to do. He leaned forward. But I am human, and humans don't know when to quit. We grab onto things and we don't let go. Strangers, problems, lost causes. We adopt them all. It's probably our worst trait. He smiled. But sometimes it's our best. Nari felt tears in her eyes. She did not know when they had started. She had not cried in a long time. Get some rest, Kongtae said gently. Tomorrow is a new day. He left her alone with a blanket and a pillow. Nari lay on the old couch, surrounded by photographs of a family she did not know. In a ship that smelled like home, and for the first time in 3 years, she slept without dreaming of falling. Nar. I woke to the sound of voices. For a moment she did not know where she was. Then she felt the old couch beneath her, saw the photographs on the walls and remembered. The observation deck. The human. The meal. The choice to stay one more night. She sat up slowly. Her wings ached from sleeping in an awkward position. The blanket Kongtae had given her smelled like engine oil and something sweet. Like flowers, the voices came from the kitchen. One was Kongtae's low, calm tone. The other was younger, female, sharp with surprise and annoyance. Another one, Dad? Really? Keep your voice down. She's been through a lot. She's a Valor. Do you know how much trouble we could get in? They're tracking her. She's supposed to report to the refugee center today. I know. And you brought her here anyway? I couldn't leave her, Sue. You say that every time? Remember the Crix mechanic? The Torvian kid? That family of Menix? And they all turned out fine, 'cause you got lucky. Nari stood up quietly. She did not want to hear more. She did not want to be a burden. She walked toward the kitchen entrance and stopped where they could see her. The young woman standing by the counter looked just like her photographs. Short black hair, bright eyes. She was wearing a rumpled uniform and holding a cup of something hot. When she saw Nari, her expression shifted from annoyance to something more complicated. Guilt, maybe? Or embarrassment. I should go, Nari said. I do not want to cause problems. No. Kongtae stepped forward. You're not going anywhere. Not yet, the young woman sighed. She set down her cup and walked toward Nari. Up close, she was slightly taller than Nari. With the solid build of someone who worked with her hands. I'm Sue, she said. Sorry you heard that. I was in tea. I didn't mean. She stopped, took a breath. My dad has a habit of bringing home strays. Mechanical and living. I worry about him. That's all. Nari tilted her head. Strays. Lost things. Broken things. Things other people throw away. Sue glanced at her father. He thinks everything can be fixed if you try hard enough. Not everything, Kongtae said quietly. But most things. The tension in the room slowly faded. Sue gestured to the table. Sit. Have breakfast. Then we can figure out what to do. Breakfast was simple: toast and fruit and hot tea. Nari ate carefully, aware that every bite was a gift she had not earned. "Tell me about the asylum petition," Sue said. "Why did they deny it?" Nari set down her tea. "They say I do not meet the requirements. I have no special skills, no family connections in settled territories, no sponsor. Without those things, Velari refugees are sent to the camps." "What about work?" "You've been on this station for 2 years. Temporary labor permit. It does not count. When the asylum petition fails, the labor permit ends. I have 3 days." She pulled out a small datapad and started typing. "There has to be something. Some loophole. Some alternative path? There is not. I have looked. The laws are very clear. Laws written by people who don't know what the camps are really like." Sue's fingers moved faster. "What about refugee resettlement programs? Emergency humanitarian visas? All full or closed, or only for certain species." Adari felt tired. She had walked this road so many times. Every path led to the same wall. "I appreciate what you are trying to do, but there is no way out." Kongtae had been quiet through all of this. Now he spoke. "What about adoption?" Both Sue and Nari looked at him. "Adoption?" Sue said. "Dad, she's not a child. By human standards, no. But Velari mature at 25. By their standards, she's still a minor." He looked at Nari. "Is that right?" Nari nodded slowly. "Yes, among my people, I would not be considered adult for 6 more years." Kongtae leaned back in his chair. "Earth has a law. Emergency protection adoption. It was created during the colonial wars to protect orphan children on war-torn worlds. It lets Earth citizens adopt minors of any species if they can prove the minor is in danger." Sue's eyes widened. "Dad, that law is ancient. I don't even know if it still applies." "It applies. I checked last night while you were sleeping. You checked." Sue shook her head. "Of course you did." Ari felt her heart beating faster. "You would do this? Adopt me? But we met only hours ago." "Time doesn't matter," Kongtae said. "What matters is that you need help, and I can give it, but why? What do you gain from this?" Kongtae smiled. It was a sad smile, but warm. "I gain a daughter. Sue gains a sister. You gain a family. Everyone wins." Nari did not know what to say. Among her people, family was blood. Family was something you were born into, not something you chose. The idea that a stranger could simply decide to be your father was strange, confusing, almost frightening, but also hopeful. The adoption would make her an Earth citizen, Sue said slowly, working through the logic. Earth citizens can't be deported to refugee camps. It would cancel the deportation order. That's the plan. But the process takes time. Background checks, interviews, documentation. 3 days, Nari said. "I have only 3 days," Kongtae nodded. "Then we have work to do. Sue, I need you to file the initial paperwork. Use my credentials. I'll talk to the station administrator about extending Nari's stay while the process is ongoing." Sue stood up. For a moment, she looked like she wanted to argue. Then she looked at Nari. Really looked at her. At her wings pressed tight against her back. At her thin frame. At the shadows under her eyes. "Okay," Sue said. "Okay, let's do this." She left to file the paperwork. Kongtae turned to Nari. "I need to tell you something," he said. "This won't be easy. There will be people who try to stop it. The station authorities. Maybe even your own people. They don't like it when outsiders interfere." "I know." "Got it. And even if we succeed, it means you become part of my family. Legally, officially, permanently. That's not a small thing. I need you to be sure." Nari thought about the observation deck. About the red button. About the void that had seemed so welcoming only hours ago. Then she thought about this small ship. About the photographs on the walls. About the rice and vegetables made with care. About this strange human who looked at her like she was worth saving. "I am sure," she said. Kongtae reached out his hand. The same hand that had pulled her back from the edge, then welcome to the family. Adi took his hand. Her grip was weak, her fingers cold, but she held on tight. Outside the ship, the dying star cast its orange light across Station High and 7. Inside, a new family was being born. Not from blood, not from birth, from something rarer, more precious, from choice. The knock on the airlock door came on the second day. Nari was sitting at the table, practicing human letters on a datapad. Sue had said it would help her application if she could write basic Earth Common. The letters were strange, all straight lines and curves that meant nothing until you put them together. But Nari liked the practice. It gave her something to focus on besides the fear. Kongtae was in the cargo hold, checking inventory. Sue was at the station's legal office, pushing paperwork through the system. The knock was loud and official, the kind of knock that did not wait for an answer. The airlock opened before Kongtae could reach it. Commander Bora stepped inside. She was a tall human woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight braid. Her uniform was crisp and perfect. Her eyes were cold and sharp. Behind her stood 2 security officers and a Velour elder. Nari felt her blood freeze. She knew that everyone in the refugee community knew Elder Yang. He was the head of the Velour Council, the group that supposedly represented their people's interests to the galactic government. But most Velour knew the truth. Elder Yang cared more about politics than people. He had made his peace with the camps long ago. Captain Kongtae, Commander Bora said, "We're here for the Velour female known as Nari. Our records show her asylum petition was denied. She is required to report for deportation processing." Kongtae walked slowly from the cargo hold. He wiped his hands on a rag and stood between the officers and Nari. "She's a guest on my ship," he said calmly. "And my ship is registered under Earth jurisdiction. Station. Security supersedes ship jurisdiction in matters of immigration enforcement. Not when there's an active adoption." "Petition." Kongtae crossed his arms. "I filed emergency custody paperwork yesterday. Until that petition is processed, Nari is under my legal protection." Commander Bora's eyes narrowed. "That petition is being reviewed. It hasn't been approved. It hasn't been denied either, which means she stays with me." The security officers shifted uncomfortably. They had expected this to be simple. Pick up the refugee, bring her to processing, move on to the next task. They had not expected a stubborn cargo captain who knew the law better than they did. Elder Yang stepped forward. He was old, even by Velour standards. His wings were completely white, paper-thin, and folded so flat against his back that they almost disappeared. His face was long and lined with wrinkles that spoke of many years and few smiles. "Captain," he said. His voice was soft, almost gentle. "I appreciate what you are trying to do. Humans are known for their compassion. It is admirable. But you do not understand our ways. Then explain them to me." Elder Yang clasped his hands together. "The Velour believe in acceptance. We accept what is. We do not fight against the current of fate. This young one's path has been decided. Her petition was denied. The camps await. This is not cruelty. This is simply—" "What is Nari?" Felt anger rising in her chest. She stood up from the table. "Gave up," she said. "All of you on the council. You stopped fighting years ago. You made peace with the camps because it was easier. Because fighting was too hard." Elder Yang's expression did not change. "We made peace because fighting was pointless. The galaxy does not want us, child. The sooner you accept that, the less you will suffer. The less I will suffer." Nari's wings trembled. "In the camps, they clip our wings. They put us in boxes and tell us to be grateful. Children grow up not knowing what flight feels like. Our culture dies a little more each day. And you call that acceptance? I call it survival. It is not survival. It is slow death. And you are helping them kill us." The room went quiet. Elder Yang's face remained calm, but something flickered in his eyes. Pain, perhaps, or guilt. Or just the weariness of an old man who had seen too much. Commander Bora cleared her throat. "This is all very touching, but we have procedures to follow. The adoption petition is unusual. It will take time to verify. In the meantime, the deportation order stands. Then I'll file for emergency injunction, Kang Tae said. That will delay things further. Captain, you're making this harder than it needs to be. I'm making it exactly as hard as it needs to be. Kang Tae's voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath. This girl came to my ship seeking safety. I will not hand her over to be sent to a place where her wings will be clipped and her spirit broken. If you want to take her, you'll have to arrest me first. Commander Boris stared at him. That can be arranged. Then do it. Arrest an Earth citizen with a clean record and 20 years of cargo service for protecting an orphaned refugee. See how that plays in the news feeds? The threat hung in the air. Station High 7 depended on good relations with Earth shipping companies. A story about station security dragging away a hero cargo captain for helping a helpless alien girl would not look good. Not good at all. Commander Bora knew it. Her jaw tightened. You have 3 days, she said finally. If the adoption is not approved by then, I will personally escort her to deportation processing, and I will make sure you face consequences for obstruction. She turned and walked out. The security officers followed. Elder Yang stayed a moment longer. He looked at Nari with something that might have been sadness.
You think this human can save you? He said quietly.
But humans are not gods. They cannot change the way the galaxy works. Maybe not, Nari said. But at least they try. Elder Yang shook his head slowly. Then he left, his white wings rustling like dead leaves. When they were alone, Nari turned to Kang Tae. Her hands were shaking. Thank you, she whispered. Kang Tae put a hand on her shoulder. Don't thank me yet. We have 3 days to make this work. What if we can't? What if the adoption is denied? Then we try something else. And if that doesn't work, we try something else again. And we keep trying until we run out of options. What if we run out of options? Kang Tae smiled. It was the smile of a man who had fought many battles and lost some of them, but who kept fighting anyway. Humans don't run out of options, he said. We just get creative. Later that night, Sue returned with news. The adoption petition had been flagged for expedited review. A hearing was scheduled for the 3rd day. They would have a chance to make their case before a station judge. It was not a victory. But it was Hopner, sat by the window of the ship, looking out at the stars. She thought about Elder Yang's words, about acceptance, about fate, about the way things were. Then she thought about Kang Tae, about his refusal to accept, his insistence on fighting, his strange human belief that walls were meant to be climbed. Maybe the Elder was right. Maybe the galaxy could not be changed, but maybe it could be pushed. Just a little. Just enough? And maybe that was all you needed. A push, a chance. A stubborn human who did not know when to quit. The hearing room was cold and gray. Metal walls. Metal chairs. A metal table where the station judge sat with her datapad and her bored expression. She had seen 100 cases like this. 1,000. Refugees trying to stay. Citizens trying to help. Everyone wanting something the system was not designed to give. Nari sat beside Kang Tae. Sue sat behind them. On the other side of the room sat Commander Bora and Elder Yang. The Elder looked tired. The Commander looked impatient. Both wanted this to be over quickly. Judge Han was an older human woman with silver white hair and eyes that had seen too much paperwork and not enough justice. She looked at Nari, then at Kang Tae, then at the datapad in front of her. This is an unusual case, she said. Earth citizen Kang Tae has filed for emergency adoption of Valori refugee, Nari, under the Emergency Protection Adoption Act of 2089. The Valori Council has filed an objection. Station security has filed for immediate deportation. The adoption petition is technically valid, but highly irregular. She looked up. Does anyone want to explain to me why I shouldn't just deny this and send everyone home? Kang Tae stood. Permission to speak, Your Honor, granted. 3 days ago, I found this girl on the observation deck. She was about to jump. To end her life, rather than face deportation to the refugee camps? He paused. Every alien on this station walked past her. They saw what she was doing. They respected her choice. They did the proper thing by the standards of their cultures. He looked at Elder Yang. But I am human. And humans don't walk past someone who is suffering. We stop. We interfere. We grab onto people who are falling and we don't let go. It's not always polite. It's not always proper. But it's what we do. Judge Han's expression did not change. That's very touching, Captain. But the law doesn't run on feelings. Tell me why I should approve this adoption. Because the camps are death sentences, Sue said, standing up. Not quick deaths. Slow ones. They clip Valor wings. They pack them into tiny spaces. They strip away everything that makes them who they are. Nari is 19 years old. If she goes to those camps, she will never fly again. She will never be free again. She will spend the rest of her life waiting to die. An adoption by a human cargo captain changes this how. It gives her citizenship, protection, a home. Sue's voice shook with emotion. It gives her a chance. Elder Yang rose slowly. His white wings rustled like paper. Your Honor, he said. I must object. This adoption is a violation of Valori autonomy. Our people have our own ways, our own customs. We do not need humans to save us. We do not need their interference. Nari felt something snap inside her. She stood up before she could stop herself. You don't speak for me, she said. Her voice was quiet but firm. You speak for the council, for politics, for the way things have always been. But you don't speak for me? Elder Yang looked at her with surprise. Child, you do not understand. I understand perfectly. Nari stepped forward. I understand that when I stood on that ledge ready to die, no Valori stopped me. No member of the council reached out. No elder offered help. They all respected my choice. They all accepted my fate. She turned to face the judge. But this human, this stranger, this person who had never met me and owed me nothing, he stopped. He reached out his hand. He refused to accept. She felt tears on her face but did not wipe them away. Among my people, that would be considered rude, intrusive, a violation of personal freedom. But I am alive because of his rudeness. I am standing here because he did not respect my pain. He fought it. He treated it like an enemy, not a destiny. The room was silent. Even Commander Bora had stopped looking impatient. Humans don't wait for permission to care, Nari continued. They just care. Even when it's inconvenient. Even when it costs them. Even when everyone around them says it's pointless. She looked at Kang Tae, at the man who had become her father in all the ways that mattered. I have been alone for 13 years. I have lost everything, my world, my family, my hope. And then this human found me on the worst night of my life and said 3 words. Not today. She turned back to the judge. Choose this. I choose him. I choose this family. Not because I have no other options, but because for the first time since my world died, I have found people who see me as more than a problem to be solved or a fate to be accepted. They see me as someone worth fighting for. Judge Han was quiet for a long moment. She looked at her datapad, then at Nari, then at Kang Tae. The Emergency Protection Adoption Act was written to protect vulnerable children from harm, she said slowly. It does not specify species. It does not require blood relation. It only requires proof that the minor is in danger and that the adoptive parent can provide safety. She set down her datapad. I have heard enough. The adoption petition is approved. Nari is hereby recognized as the legal daughter of Kang Tae, with all rights and protections of Earth's citizenship. The deportation order is cancelled. The gavel came down. The sound echoed through the cold gray room like a heartbeat. Nari felt the world tilt. Sue grabbed her in a tight hug. Kang Tae put his hand on her shoulder, his grip warm and steady. Welcome to the family, he said. For real this time. Commander Bora stood and left without a word. Elder Yang remained seated. He looked at Nari with an expression she could not read. Disappointment, perhaps. Or something else. You think you have one? He said quietly. But you have only delayed the inevitable. The galaxy will not change because one human decided to care. Nari looked at him. Maybe not. But I am not trying to change the galaxy. I am just trying to live. To fly? To be free. She spread her wings slightly. They caught the cold light of the room. And now I have a chance. 3 months later, Nari stood in the cargo bay of the Hana. The great doors were open to space. Stars spread out before her like scattered diamonds. The void was still there. Still endless. Still cold. But she was not afraid of it anymore. A safety tether connected her to the ship. Kung Tae and Sue stood in the doorway behind her, watching. You ready? Sue asked. Nari looked back at them. Her family. Not by blood. Not by birth. By something stronger. Humans taught me something, she said. It's not about being ready. It's about not giving up until you are. She spread her wings. Fully, completely. For the first time since she was a child on a world that no longer existed, the solar wind caught them, filling them with light. She thought about the observation deck, about the red button, about the choice she almost made. Then she thought about a hand reaching out, a voice saying, not today. A bowl of rice and vegetables made with care. She leaped not into the void, not into death, into flight. The tether held her. The stars surrounded her. And somewhere behind her, she heard Sue cheering and Kong Tae laughing. Nari flew. Not forever. Not free of all her problems, but free in this moment. Free because someone had refused to let her fall, and that was enough. That was everything.